guys, welcome back to my channel and to my March reading wrap up. In March I read 22 books and 6,658 pages, which is the lowest of the reading months this so far, but you know, the start of the year motivation has left me, so I can understand why. My average rating for the month was 3.32, which isn't great, but again, it's not my worst, so I'll take it. First of all, I'm going to go through in chronological order of when I read my books and give you my thoughts and feelings, and at the end I will tell you about the books that I DNF'd. The first book that I read this month was The Paris Apartments by Lucy Foley, and I actually read this for a reading vlog, so I will put that up there and you can go see that for more thoughts and opinions. This book follows this woman who goes to visit her brother who's living in an apartment in Paris with his friend. And when she gets there, he does not answer the door, he's not there. She gets into the apartment and sees some suspicious things and realises something is amiss and wants to find her brother, basically. Lucy Foley's been a bit of a middle-of-the-road author for me since I read her first book, The Guest List. Well, not her first book, the first book I read of hers. So I didn't really have high expectations for this, but I was really hoping it would just be better than the others, but it wasn't for me personally. I think the atmosphere was really, really nice. I enjoyed the vibes of it all. However, I didn't really care as much for the mystery, didn't particularly care for the pacing or the writing, so I did just give this a 3 stars. You know, it's very entertaining. I really like the audiobook because it was full cast, so if you're going to read it, I definitely recommend it in that way. I feel like it at least made the story bearable for me. It was entertaining. I could see why some people like it, but it just wasn't anything phenomenal for me. The next book that I read was The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. This follows a girl who is at a school for witches and they have to control the seasons because the seasons are a bit all over the place right now because of global warming. And so we follow this girl who, I can't remember what happens, to be honest. Oh, she has rare magic that is tied to every single season. So one of her type have not been around for many a year, and so there's a lot of pressure put on her to save everybody. Again, I think this was very middle of the road. I gave it a 3 stars. I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed the atmosphere. Just things like the romance felt very young. The way the character reacted to things felt very young, and I didn't agree with some of the decisions she made. So I struggled a little bit to enjoy that aspect of it all. I definitely enjoyed the atmosphere of the book, which kept it going for me. It was good in that way, but nothing special or out of the ordinary. I seem to be always reading witchy books that let me down recently. I just want witchy books that are actually don't know, just meet expectations. I like witches that have some depth. These just felt very, oh good, we'll change the season. There was no depth to it whatsoever, and I would love to have seen that a bit more. So this wasn't the best book in the world, but it wasn't the worst book in the world. I just thought it was middle of the road at 3 stars. Enjoyable, but, you know, an easy read, but not something I would rave about. The next book that I read was actually one that I DNF'd in January, and that was These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I couldn't stop thinking about how disappointed I was by not being able to finish this book. I was like, I really want to love it. The things I hear about it sound so amazing. Everybody seems to love this book. I want to be on that hype. I want to love this book. So I did in fact pick it up again. I couldn't fall in love with the characters or the story because I'd already had that moment of disliking it and giving up on it. So overall it was a 3 stars. However, I will say that since reading it, I haven't stopped thinking about it. I feel like once I changed my expectations, because I'd read it and DNF'd it because it didn't match those expectations, going in the second time with new expectations was just much better idea for me. I just felt prepared to take on whatever was thrown my way, and it was much better. So it did get a 3 stars for this read, but I can definitely see in future reads this being more of a 4, and I'm definitely intrigued to see what happens with the next one. The next book that I read was The Maid by Nita Prose. This has kind of taken the world by storm at the moment. This book is everywhere and everybody's enjoying it. I listened to it on audio. I had the ARC for the audio, so again, I will direct you to that ARC reading vlog if you want to see more thoughts and opinions on it in more detail. Again, I hate to say it, but this was a 3 star, very middle of the road. This beginning of this month was kind of filled with those for me. I can understand the importance of bringing characters such as our main character from The Maid, I can't remember her name, too light because she was neurodivergent, and I thought that was great. However, I still didn't connect with any of the book, any of the characters. I think it was nice with the newfound family, but especially at the end, some of the conversations were happening. I was like, what is going on? Like, there was this man who was speaking to her like a child, and I was like, please stop. It made me uncomfortable. I'm not sure how good it actually is. You know what I mean? Like, everybody is saying how amazing this mystery is, and I just feel like it's not really that. I did give it 3. However, now that upon reflection, it would probably get a 2 from me. I'm not really sure that that is something I would want to ever reread or recommend to somebody, other than the fact I really enjoy neurodivergent character representation. Other than that, I feel like the book is a bit of a flop. It was interesting in its plotline. I really enjoyed the setting of the hotel. However, with the storyline that happened, like, if you've read it, you'll know what I mean. Like, that storyline, I was like, hang on, what? This is not what I expected. I expected some, like, cozy mystery because it was on cozy mystery, like, lists. I feel like we were lied to. I just don't get it. So you're not another not great read for me. But again, I do talk about it in more detail over in that video, so feel free to check that out for more detail. We are continuing with the middle of the road. I read Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is my first Colleen Hoover book, and I really thought this one would be a standout book for me because everybody says that it's really spooky, really scary. Like, some people said it's the scariest book of all time. So I had, like, fear going into this. This is not a thriller. This is a romance, okay? This is not a thriller. It may have darker elements to it. It is a maybe thriller romance at a push. But it's a romance. It's more of a romance thriller, not a thriller romance. I just cannot believe how misdirected I was on this book. So let me set the record straight. Not a bad book. Not a bad book at all. The reason this got a 3 stars for me was because I was expecting something completely different to what I got. This book is a romance with a darker, thrillery element to it regarding the ex-wife. Has an open end where you decide, and I really like that part. For anybody who's read it, I am team manuscript. I'd love to know what you are down below. Definitely a very interesting concept for a book, and my mouth was agape for a lot of this story. This definitely had the potential to be 4 stars if people had not misled me and everybody else on the planet, okay? I must admit, I'm very sick of this happening to me. I'm very much over it. So yeah, I hope that if you're going to pick this up, you pick this up for the right reasons. It is a good book. I know I gave it a 3, but again, that is because of people's misdirection. I would definitely be interested in picking this up again in the future, knowing what I know now and seeing if I enjoy it any more. But it was definitely a well thought out book, and a lot of it had me like, oh my goodness. It is a very slow paced story. Like, a lot of it I was kind of enjoying it, but a bit like, this probably could have been cut out. But I'm also not really got a problem with slow paced stories, so I feel like if you don't have a problem with slow paced stories, this could be one that you really, really enjoy. But again, it is not terrifying as everybody says. It has its creepy moments, but it is more romance than anything else. Let me know if you disagree with me or if you agree with me if you've read this. And also, team manuscript or team letter. The next book that I read was another DNF from January, I think, and that was The Spirit Engineer by AJ West. I decided to pick this back up. Somebody that I love a lot and trust their reviews of gave this a 5 stars, and so I was like, okay, I need to pick this up. They were raving about it all over Goodreads, and so I thought, I'm going to pick this up again because clearly I've missed out on something. So I decided to pick it up physically because the first time I picked it up audibly, so I thought maybe that would make a difference. This book just isn't for me, but I can see why people would love it. I gave it 2 stars, but I can tell you why. I don't love male main characters, okay? This channel, if you've watched me for a while, very pro-women with the books I read. And so I do already struggle with a male protagonist, especially in an era such as the one The Spirit Engineer is set in, which is just after the Titanic. It can be really hard to be inside a misogynistic man's head. And I didn't enjoy being inside of it. So already from the offset, I was a bit like, I'm not really vibing. Now the ending is insane. The ending is crazy, but I was kind of already bored by this point. We'd gone through a lot of moments that I was like, I don't see why this needs to be in it. And this is a really short book, so the fact that I got bored is not a good sign. But again, I know that that's because of my own personal reading tastes, and this is not a bad book. I can see why people would love it, but for me personally, I gave this a 2 stars. It just wasn't for me. The next book that I picked up was Galatea by Madeline Miller. I had no idea this existed. Apparently it's been online for a few years and it finally got printed, and as you can see, this is like the tiniest book ever. It's, how many pages? 50 pages. It's so small, and it's not even considered that because barely any words on the page. I read this obviously in one sitting. It was beautiful. I thought that the character of Galatea was heartbreaking. The ending, oh, so gorgeous, so amazing, all so sad, but in that typical way of me loving any sort of mythology retelling is, I just love them so much. I gave this a 4 stars just because I would have loved more than anything for this to have been longer. I would love this to be a full-length novel and get the full 5-star vibes, but for what we got, 4 stars, really, really good. Next, I picked up The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper, and again, the next 3 books that I show to you are going to be featured in a Read With Me for the Day vlog. I will link it up above. I actually really love that video. I cry over all the books in it, and I just think it was really nice to spend the day with you reading. Go check out that video if you want to see more detail of me reading this and some nice cute b-roll. We finally, in this moment of the month, got into the good books. Okay, so no more middle of the road. We love this book. It was a 5 stars for me. I absolutely adore it. Amara as a character was so beautiful. She was like this, started off as this plain girl, you know, somebody who'd never made their mark on the world. She was kind of pushed around. She was someone that didn't stand up for herself, and by the end we had this powerful, conniving woman who used everything in her life that was a disadvantage to her gain to create a better future for herself. And I just loved her. I think her brains and power and her beauty was everything to me. This is historical fiction, which is not my kind of thing, so I was really shocked to like this, but it definitely gives me the vibes of Ariadne and Circe, so if you are a fan of those sorts of books, this is definitely the one for you. It is set in Pompeii in the brothels. This is the first in a trilogy, and I am so excited to continue on with it and read more about Amara and all the other characters in this book that I hope continue to feature. Again, if you would like to see me gush about The Wolf Den, please go check out that video, but also check it out if you want to see me gush about this, which is The Mad Woman's Ball by Victoria Mass. Wow, 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 wow. Another 5 stars. This is such a short book, and I was so like confused how I love this when the ball doesn't even appear till like the last 10 pages. It's very slow. Everything I would usually hate in a story, this had, and yet I loved. Okay, I thought it was amazing. It was so sad to see the way that women are affected by men and their decisions and their ways of deeming women as useless and as less worthy. Now this was set in 1885, so obviously a lot of men had more control over the women. You basically see the women becoming considered animals at this point. They're not even considered human beings. However, I feel like so much of the context of this book could be translated into how women are treated to this day. And I just, number one, it broke my heart for that reason, but also I really enjoy reading books like that because I feel like it just creates this feeling of camaraderie between us all. This is so atmospheric, so beautiful. Again, if you are into books such as Circe and Ariadne, this may not be a mythology retelling, but it is certainly a woman empowering women story, and it is sad. This happy end is kind of like a happy ending, but like it's a sad, happy ending. So go in prepared, but it is worth your time for sure. I usually don't like a slow-paced book, but this is one that really did it for me, and I definitely recommend. Again, checking out that video if you want to see me gush about it. The last book that was featured in that video, so I will stop talking about it, that was The Blue Book of Nebo by Manon Stefan Ross. This was one I was really excited to read and hopeful that I would love because it is set in Wales, which is obviously where I live, in case you couldn't tell by the accent. And I really wanted to love this so I could promote a Welsh author. Spoiler alert for that video, I did love it. I gave this a 4 stars. It is post-apocalyptic, but I didn't expect it to be as dark and sad as it was, based in a time where there's this explosion in a power plant, and I think it's also global warming kind of took over as well and ruined everything for everyone. We follow this boy Dylan and his mother and baby sister trying to navigate this hard world that they currently find themselves living in. It was so multi-level, I would say, about this book. I feel like you could read it 5-10 times and find something new with an undertone or a hidden meaning. I think this is something that they should study in schools. For such a short book, it was so fascinating, so interesting. It was definitely one that praises Wales, and as I said in that video, it's like a love letter to Wales and the Welsh language as well. I absolutely love a dystopian story anyway, and a post-apocalyptic story. Those are my favourite kinds, and I feel like I never get any good recommendations, so this one is definitely one. It has a dark edge to it, but it's also not horror or anything like that. It's still readable for any age group, but I really love this. I think I'm going to be reading it multiple times over the next few years, and yeah, 4 stars, very good. Next, I read 3 books by Kat Blackthorne. Those would be Stealing Your Dad, Seducing My Boss, and Sharing Stepbrothers. I gave the first 2 stars, and then I gave the Sharing Stepbrothers 4 stars. However, I'm going to be completely honest when I say I remember nothing. I remember a little bit about the Stepbrothers ones where they were lawyers, but I really can't remember the rest. I believe the first one was about a cheating boyfriend, so she got revenge with the dad, which I really enjoyed that trope. But they wouldn't stand out for me. I don't remember them very well, so can't really say very much. As I said, did enjoy the Sharing Stepbrothers one. I think it was quite funny. It had a lot of plot for how long these books are. They were smutty, but nothing on like the extent of what I would usually read. So I thought it was quite enjoyable. And I would recommend the 3rd one, but probably not the first 2. Next, I read Priest by Sierra Simone. Now this kind of, again, has a chokehold on smutty book talk. I get it. Like, if you've watched Fleabag season 2, we all get the priest thing. We get it, okay? And if you haven't seen Fleabag season 2, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, that is the best series ever. However, I just felt like this book, ironically, this book was preachy. Okay, now considering the content of this book, you would think, how is that preachy? It is. It's very much like trying to convert you to Christianity. Like, it feels that way. And I felt like every turn they were talking about how God makes everything better and how by converting to God you feel more like at peace. And I'm like, am I reading a smutty book, or is somebody at my door asking me to convert religion? What is going on? So as much as I enjoyed it, I gave it 3 stars. Like, I really enjoyed what I got out of it smut-wise. I'm also very confused by the concepts. So, wasn't my favourite, wouldn't read it again, but I would love to hear if anybody else felt that way, if you've read it, or do you think I'm just being sensitive and in a world of my own? Next, I read a very exciting new release, and that was The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the 4th book in the From Blood and Ash series, and I recently caught up with that series, and I was so excited for this release. I was a bit worried because I hadn't read Shadow in the Ember, and I'm not sure if you have to read that before or after, so I just read it, well, not after because it's already been published, but you know what I mean. So I hadn't read it. This was the best in the series. This also got a 5 star, just like Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, but it's so much better than Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, so take that as you may. I know a lot of people are mad at the ending, okay? Or not the ending, but like, I know people are mad at something that happens near the end of that book. Let me say this in the nicest way possible. If you hadn't guessed what was going to happen since book 2, as it has been spoon-fed to us, you really shouldn't be complaining, because it's been the most obvious thing ever. Like, it has literally been something we've been begging for every book since the 2nd one, and now it's happened. You're like, I can't believe that happened. That was so out of the blue. That shouldn't have happened. What are you on about? Every single book has become like so close to it. You guys shock me. You guys will never be happy. The one thing I will say about Miss JLA is somebody needs to edit those books. There is 0 reason for these books to be almost 700 pages, plus some maybe. No need. Somebody get her books edited. We do not need all those useless repetitive scenes. However, saying that, it is still a 5 star, still amazing, still had me squealing. They are my favourite books to read in the car, and I read this over like the course of like a week, just driving everywhere. It was amazing. I just can't wait to reread it, and I cannot wait for the next book, which is going to be so far away, it hurts. We then unfortunately went on to a not so great book. That was The Four Leaf by Lee Jacquard. It's like this childhood best friends grow up, find out they've always loved each other kind of thing. I just didn't really get it. It's got primal play in it. no king shaming on this channel ever, but I'm just not sure on it. I would be interested in reading more to understand a bit more about that, because I was intrigued, but I was a bit like, yeah, I don't really have much to say about it. I just didn't feel the connection between the characters. I didn't really understand what was going on. It wasn't my favourite. I have nothing else to say. There we go. I did just realise that I missed 2 books from the middle of the month, so I'll just go back to those. First one I read was Bulky by Jessa Kane. When will I stop reading Jessa Kane? I'm in the middle of a Jessa Kane book right now. When will I stop? This book wasn't as bad as some of her other ones, okay? They weren't that bad. 3 stars. It's just, I really don't enjoy fat people being described as bulky. You know what I mean? That's the end of that. That's all I have to say. If you're into age gap, self-conscious men, empowered by women, you may love this. Not for me. Not for me. Not that bad though. I have read worse by her. I'm trying to remember if it had pregnancy kink or not in it, because every single book she seems to have has pregnancy kink in it, so it probably does, but I can't remember. But if it does, enjoy. The reason that I remembered the fact I'd forgotten these books was because I mentioned Primal Play in the 4-leaf. I read The Ritual by Chantal Tessier. I can't explain to you what this book is because I'm embarrassed that I read this book. I'm sorry, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. Please go check out the Goodreads synopses. I'm sorry I read this. I'm so sorry. It did take me 2 months or something like that, so fair enough. I gave it 2 stars. Now this is this Primal Play, or is this just outright wrong? Who truly knows? Not my thing. Terrifying, dark, scary. Yeah. If in your smut you like every single trigger warning there ever is, please continue over to that book. You will love it. If you have any regard for your mental health, do not read it. I'm sorry guys, I couldn't do it. Okay, moving on swiftly. Next, I read the 4th book in the Madison Kate series, and that was Kate by Tate James. I'm glad I finally finished this story. As you know, I read the first 3 books in February, so I wanted to finish them off this month, and I did. Unfortunately, I've really enjoyed these books, right? But this was a 600-page book, okay? It was the last in a series, a mafia romance. The characters were great. The boys were fabulous. They were all their own unique personalities. Okay, Madison's a bit annoying, but I'll take it. However, we had 3 books from these people. That was enough. It was exhaustive. It was too much. But every book ended on a cliffhanger. So I kept continuing. Even though I was like, I'm done, I kept having to continue because I'm a sucker for a cliffhanger. So I was like, this last book in the series is going to be the end, so it doesn't matter. I'll just finish it. Tell me why I read 4 books, the last one being 600 pages, to find another cliffhanger. Tell me why. This had a cliffhanger for her next series. So of course, being the sucker that I am for a cliffhanger, I was like, no, you know you have an issue. Don't do it. Clever girl, won't do it. Sat there and I was on the FaceTime to my friends and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to continue. And they were like, so proud of you. And I was like, thank you. I'm so proud of myself. Sorry, friends. I have the next book. So I'm now starting her Hades series. I need to know what happens. Okay, look, I had good restraint, and then I went on TikTok and somebody was mentioning how good this Madison Kate series was, and I clicked on the comments, which I shouldn't have done. I just wanted to see if anyone else was confused by how bad this series got by the end, okay? And everybody, every single person, every single comment was, if you like this, you have no idea what's coming because the Hades series is so much better, or this is nothing compared to Hades. Hades is so much better. Yeah, I got it. Okay, I get it. Thanks for that. I have now blooming got it on my Kindle. I'm so annoyed at myself. Like, why do I do these things? Why do people put cliffhangers at the end of series? Because now what am I going to do? I'm going to read a whole nother series that's probably just as big. And I have nobody to blame but myself. And the people on TikTok. Moving on to much happier things, I then read, which one's this? Cursed Fates, Zodiac Academy number 5. These books are all blending into one. These are humongous. This is only 650 pages. So I was like, wow, after reading number 4, I'm impressed by how small this is. Just to find out that it's not that they're small, it's the fact that the new format made this book 200 pages smaller. It's actually originally an 850 page book, just made with a much smaller font. I feel cheated. I feel lied to. I feel hurt. However, I loved every second. I gave this a 4 stars. This series just doesn't seem to hit 5 stars for me, even though it is definitely my favourite series ever. So someone explain that one to me. All I can say to you, okay, is I ended this crying, shaking, screaming, angry. I was actually so angry. I was shaking, telling all my friends how angry I was, because I've convinced all my friends to read it, which is fabulous. Even Connor's now agreed to read the first one, so I feel on cloud 9. However, this book has nothing but sadness, okay? Actually, this series has nothing but sadness. And the worst part is this is book 5, and everybody says book 6 and 7 are like the epitome of depression. If this isn't already it, what am I doing? Like, I can't do this. I can't do it. I'm out. No. Like, self-care, self-love, putting this down. Oh. But saying that, please read the series. And don't read the first one and cut off, because the first one was like, no offense, but the first one was not that great. But like the second one onwards, mwah, chef's kiss. As you can see, I did some tabbing. You wouldn't believe how many sad tabs are in here. There is not a happy tab in here. All of my colours now represent a different kind of sad. So we actually have really sad, which is like blue. Then we have dark purple sad, which is a sad scene. We have light purple, which is sad character moment. Green is funny, so that's fine. Orange is a sad angry moment, where you're sad and angry. The yellow is where you are sad, but you're thinking to yourself, I think this will be resolved. Spoiler, nothing gets resolved. Pink is a love moment, but a lot of the pink love moments are still sad moments, but we get like cute moments between characters even when it's still sad. You want to read it? You want to read sadness? So yeah, perfect. Give it 4 stars. It should be a 5. It just needs a few less scenes in it, and also a bit more happiness, because I am upset. Continuing on then, I read the novella, which is number 5.5, and this is The Big Ass Party. I was excited about this one because I felt like it was actually going to be happy, because we're just seeing a party, and it was to some extent. I gave it 3 stars because there's one issue. This is told from majoritively Geraldine's perspective, and if you don't know how Geraldine speaks, I'm sinning with a sea bass and tangling with his tentacles. I'm a wonton lady of the shore, dipping my toes in salty waters. Trout, salmon, eel, dolphin, carp, guppy, catfish, bass, neon tetra, cod, pilchard, cuttlefish, tuna, barracuda. Don't go fishing on me too soon, you cantankerous crustacean. I don't even know what that means, crustacean. So I assure you, reading a whole novella, which doesn't even have page numbers, so I can't even tell you how much it was. Oh, this was painful. This was painful. I do not want to see any more Geraldine's perspective, okay? Love and adore her from the sidelines. Never, ever, ever want to see a POV from her again. I will pay you not to read a POV from her again. So this wasn't the best. It was 3 stars because it's still in the Zodiac world, and I love anything Zodiac Academy at this point. But if you hate Geraldine, not hate her, but if you hate the way Geraldine speaks as much as I do, just don't read this. There is nothing that happens that you need to know, and I would rather you just save yourself from Geraldine's speech. So that was actually the last book I finished for the month completely, but I did have 2 DNFs in the month. No, 3 DNFs in the month. The first one was the Exit Hex. I knew this was going to be hit or miss because everybody seemed to say it was a bit like Marmite for them. For me, it was just really cringy, really embarrassing. I read 100 of the 300 pages, so I got a third of the way through. And yeah, I just hated it. I'm not gonna lie. It felt like fan fiction, but not the good stuff. Okay, I love a bit of fanfic. This was not good. I'm not going to talk any more about it. I just didn't enjoy it. Good for you if you did. The other DNF was Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I had an arc of this. I just really can't gel with the writing style. I tried. I got 60 something percent. I think it was like 69% or something into this book. Like, I read 250 pages. It's only like a 350 page book. So I did do as much as I physically could, and it's not a bad book by any means. It's actually quite funny because there's like a chicken demon and stuff. But whereas like most fantasy books, you'd have like the journey to the different places, it was really quick of like, you want to go somewhere, you're instantly there the next chapter, except for one place, which the whole book is like set over the journey. It was so jarring to keep jumping like around the place. I didn't care for the characters, and by the end I just didn't particularly care for the story. Not in a bad way, it was just like the writing style was taking up so much of my brain power to gel with that I then couldn't think about anything else. So I kind of just called it a day. And the third DNF, I seem to be on my own here, but that was The Wild and Wicked Things by Francesca May. Again, I got an arc of this. I was really hoping to love it. It is a Great Gatsby retelling, but like with witches, where witches is like being a witch is illegal, magic is illegal, like alcohol was. I guess I just didn't grasp the concept of this story. Characters were boring, characters weren't very well developed, there was no like mystery to it. I didn't get it. It didn't feel very fluid, pacing was all off, the story felt all off. I felt like scenes needed to be added and some scenes needed to be taken away. So all in all, not the best time, but I don't really have much else to say on the matter. So those are all the books that I read in March. Sorry that some of them were a bit speedy. It's just these get so long with how many books I read now that I'm just trying to get through them as quick as possible. I really hope you got some recommendations from this video, or at least found it interesting to hear my points of view of anything. If you read any of these and you disagree/agree with me, let me know down below. Again, I want to know team manuscript or team letter. I'm eager to know. And yeah, I shall see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.